Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Peachy Comeback. I'm Abby Holden. I'm your host, the show where we talk about all things breast cancer. Thank you so much for watching. Today, I have with me a very wonderful person. She's also special to me. She happens to be my childhood best friend. Rebecca, say hello.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming on. So, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, you are
Probably
here.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it's okay. You're here on the Peachy Comeback. So we are childhood best friends.
Mhm.
When did we? I don't remember when we met.
We met playing upward basketball, church basketball at 9 years old.
That was in my basketball era.
I think your mom was our coach.
Ah,
And I think Stacy was a co-coach.
mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, we were really probably rock stars and winners.
I don't think we won a single game, actually.
It's fine. It's fine. Basketball era. Now here we are. Many years later.
Mhm.
Okay. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer early 30s.
Mhm.
And then I don't know what the odds are. I don't really want to know. But a few short years later,
Yeah.
you also found yourself facing a breast cancer diagnosis. Let me just start first.
It was 4 years later, right?
4 years later.
Yeah.
My earliest memory of it. You know how when you just get a text message and you're like, oh, something doesn't feel right, like whenever it goes off, you texted me at like 7 something on a Sunday morning. And I remember hearing that zzz, and I was like, oh, what we got a problem. I don't know where it is, but it's 7:30 on a Sunday morning and this is not good.
Yeah.
So walk me through just like what happened.
Well, I'd had a lump that I noticed, but it was not really, I mean, I knew theoretically it could be something, but it wasn't really something I expected. You just always think that's like someone else. That's like somebody else's story. So I thought it was probably just fibroadenoma. And I'd actually seen an OBGYN for it. She was not concerned at all. Was like, this is just probably fibroadenoma.
So you're like, great, everything's fine.
Everything's fine. I'm not worried about it. But I ended up having a mammogram scheduled and not worried about it at all. And I think for some reason, well, you came to mind because I knew like what you'd been through, and I don't think we talked in a few months at that point. So you didn't really know what was going on. But I just I think in my mind, I sort of thought that you knew what was happening to you, that you like went in for your mammogram and you sort of had this like knowledge that this is and yours was different than mine. And so you kind of knew like, this is what's happening. And then I thought, maybe she was as clueless as I am. So I sent you 100%. A text. Yeah. So I sent you a text and was like, did you have any, like, I'm doing this thing, like I'm going for testing. Like, did you have a premonition? And you, to my horror, said, no, you didn't have a premonition. Like you were just as clueless as I was.
Yeah.
So it was helpful, I think, because at that point I hadn't really told anybody. My boyfriend knew that I was doing that, and maybe a couple of friends that I just mentioned it to, but
because you like start to like kind of justify it in your mind, right? Yeah. You're like, no, this is fine. Like I'm healthy. I'm young. Yeah. I'm whatever. Like this is not happening to me. Yeah. Or at least that's what I did.
But I think also you don't want to be like dramatic. I'm like, I don't want to be the person that's like, I'm getting tested, especially I think. Well, I don't know. I honestly hadn't told any of my family at that point. I hadn't even reached out to you. I knew for a fact I hadn't reached out to you because I didn't want to be that person that's like,
hashtag me too.
Me. Like, I know you've been through a lot, but like,
yeah,
I have something that I want to talk about. So at that point I hadn't even told my family. And I think that's where you gave me really good advice.
Yes.
And you told me like, just let them know what's going on. Just kind of tell them like, odds are it's nothing and they can celebrate good news with you if that's true. But you were like, it's a lot of bad news if you haven't prefaced that at all. So obviously I'm really grateful that you gave me that advice, because I think later that day I called my parents and I talked to different members of my family, just told them like, just, have this on the horizon and like pray for me about that. So anyways, that was good that you did that.
Was probably helpful for you to like unload that burden, right, on someone else. Just to like know that you've got people in your corner that are like, we're here for you, like no matter what.
Yeah, it was great. And they really like took it seriously. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, you don't want to be a burden. I don't know if it's like being a woman or you kind of think it's not going to be anything, but I think I also didn't want to it's like the thing that keeps coming to mind is like, be dramatic. Like I didn't want to be dramatic, but
I need everyone's attention.
Yeah.
I am scared I may have breast cancer.
But thankfully people are really, typically like kind and sensitive and care about you, you know?
Well, and
shockingly.
Shockingly, imagine that. But like where we are right now, like unfortunately, it's not that wild of a thought to be in your 30s and to realize like I'm seriously facing probably a breast cancer diagnosis.
And I didn't realize that.
No. I was like 1 in 8 women, like granted, yes, they're usually older, but still like you have to, if you are in your 30s, like I know that that's not the time where you start getting preventative like scans and treatment, but like you have to think about that these days.
Yeah.
So
totally.
So so you are leading up to it. How long did you have to wait for your mammogram?
How long did I have to wait for my mammogram? You mean like to get the appointment actually? Well, I think because I'd seen, you know, the OBGYN and she basically was like, this is not a big deal. We'll just send you for a screening mammogram. You're getting close to 40, not that close, but you're getting close to 40. We'll just send you for a screening. So it was like, I think the one that I got was like 3 months later.
Oh my gosh.
So, but thankfully, you know, I work in healthcare and, you know, just sort of like through a really providential set of circumstances was able to find someone and basically get a mammogram within a month. Which turned out to be great because I was actually starting treatment before I even, you know, would have had the initial mammogram. Yeah.
That's amazing. What would you say to like someone that's maybe waiting for a mammogram right now and they're not in the healthcare system and they don't have that? Like, how can they be their own advocate? I
think what you just said is the biggest thing is to be your own advocate. Because I think when I went to go see that physician, you know, I just trusted what she said. And I think it's a hard balance. You know, I think she had good intentions. I think she also like probably 9 times out of 10 would have been right. But I think just to be in that situation, just say, you know, I would like to get this done and I'd like to get it done as soon as possible. Like
this doesn't feel right to me. Like, and you know your body better than anybody.
And I think most physicians in that position would get you like a diagnostic mammogram instead of a screening mammogram. They would get you in quicker. So I think that's, you know, that's probably something I would have changed at that time would have been to push a little bit. I think I was just relieved. I'm like, well, she doesn't think it's anything.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry. I've done my due diligence and I can just stop thinking about it instead of really like, no, like what do I actually need to get done? Like, and pushing for that. And really telling her what I thought that I needed or, you know, so, I think there's a lot there about just being your own advocate, like you were saying.
Absolutely. I didn't even know there was a difference between a screening and a diagnostic.
I honestly didn't
just
really
want
either.
The most accelerated version.
Yeah, exactly. Just say like, I want this as soon as possible. You know, I'm really concerned or, you know, whatever.
No, I love that. All right. So you looped your parents in, you looped your circle in, and you were kind of ready, like going into the mammogram. Like you probably knew you were going to find out one way or the other. Did you find out at your mammogram?
I did. Yes, I did.
What was that like?
I will say it was terrible.
Oh my gosh.
But in a way, I'm so grateful to you, actually. And I know you didn't have anybody to go before you. And I know a lot of women don't have someone to go before them. So it helped me because I kind of knew what to expect. So I went in to get the mammogram and then they basically had me wait and the radiologist looks at it and sees if they think there's anything concerning. And if they find something that's concerning, then they bring you back for an ultrasound. So I did the mammogram, was waiting, and was just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Oh my gosh, right.
And see, you know,
flew by.
More and more, you know, it's like all these women that came in with me are all leaving.
Wow.
So, and anyway, so it was just, I think that waiting was really hard because I knew sort of what that meant.
Yeah.
And then going back and having the ultrasound and sort of, you know, having the sweet ultrasound tech who knows what she's looking at.
Absolutely,
she does this all the time.
She knows.
And she's just quiet and not saying anything. And, you know, my lump is here, but she's like up in my armpit. And I'm like, I know she's looking at my lymph nodes and I know she's looking at my lymph nodes for a reason. But she can't tell me. So that was difficult. But then the doctor came in, did the scan, and I remember you told me this too. She just, you know, just got the jelly on and she just kind of steps back.
I mean, what is this?
I don't know.
You have to fix
the room is still
you
dark.
Can't say these things
you
without.
And she just
supportive
says,
person else in the room.
And she just says, like, you have breast cancer. In some ways, I appreciate that because the like waiting and not, I'm just like, what are you all looking at? And I know that you two know something that I don't know. But I do think it would be nice if you could have someone in the room with you to just, it's not a moment that you really want to share with strangers. So it would be nice if you could have, and maybe there are places where you can do that. But
wow. Well, know that you are going to go before a lot of women. Like, I mean, that's the amazing thing. Like, you have been amazing at this whole journey. And so you're going to have a whole host of people that you get to say, listen, I've done this. You're going to be fine. This is how you're going to get through it. So know that you have that coming. But yeah, so I'm glad to know that I was not the only person that got dizzy and almost passed out in a dark exam room, whatever, in some mammogram office. I really feel like we should fix that, but I digress. So obviously it's a shock. No matter how much you prepare yourself, you cannot prepare yourself for that moment where you're like, hey, by the way, you have breast cancer. What was it like in the days and weeks that followed? And how did you what brought you peace of mind getting your treatment plan together?
Well, I think for me, my experience was that, they essentially could tell that it wasn't very advanced at that stage, that they were looking. So I think that brought me a lot of peace of mind. They were very, and it was a great care team. And they basically said, this is going to be a year that you're not going to like, but you're going to be fine. Yeah. And so I think, that's something that we had that, I know that there's other women that don't have that same experience. So I'm really grateful for that. So I think that helped a lot. I think then you just kind of enter into this mode of you've got this huge news. You want to start attacking it as soon as possible. You want to get your plan, but it's just, there's so many appointments to get to. There's so much information that they have to get to even create a plan for you. And I think that was something that was sort of surprising to me. It basically was a month from diagnosis to when I started treatment.
Yeah. And that feels like forever.
It feels like
when
forever.
You're in a holding pattern.
When you're there's
just,
something
just
in
let
here.
me at it. Let's get this out.
Yeah, I just want to get this out.
So patience.
I think patience. Really just taking it one day at a time and enjoy eating all the food that you want to eat before you start the chemo, and just just enjoy one day at a time, and I don't know.
You have to probably try to find the positive, I feel like, in those moments. I remember we had dinner very early on and you're like, I have so many questions and I just want to get started. And so waiting and knowing that the gauntlet is 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead of you is exhausting. I mean, it really can be exhausting. Yeah. So you just have to find a way to be okay, I'm going to stay in the present.
But I think that's the biggest thing that I learned was just staying in the present. Like you said, one day at a time. And I think being grateful for, feeling good before you even start treatment, and just sort of prepping yourself mentally and emotionally. Yes. You even need that time to kind of come to grips with whatever your treatment plan is going to be.
I like that.
Because I didn't even know what my treatment plan, because it could have just been surgery first, or radiation and then chemo, or, there's different combinations, and we didn't even know that for I think at least 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's a while.
At least 2 weeks. Yeah, we didn't even know what direction I was going to go in. So I think just staying present and trying to stay grateful for all the good things that you have, and just not rushing it will come. The chemo's going to come.
Fast.
The things will come.
There.
Yeah, and you will be able to deal with it then. So just enjoying each day.
But such a good reminder. I mean, really, that's a really good reminder to have gratitude every day, right? And I feel like it's so easy to lose that. I love that. So what would be, you're newly in this whole process. It hasn't even been a full year yet. And I feel like being in the moment, having the experiences that you have so much value to offer so many people that are facing this exact scenario today or tomorrow. What would be your one piece of advice that you would give a person facing a similar situation that you were facing?
That's a great question. I think staying present. I know we were just harping on that, but I think that is the biggest thing, because it's not something you can do in one day.
Yeah.
You just can't. You just have to. It's a marathon. You know,
Yeah.
you just have to give a little bit every day, and whatever each day brings, that's what it brings. And, you know, sometimes you even have to take it hour by hour. You know, I mean, I know that you know how
Yes.
that feels.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I guess that's the biggest thing that I would say. I guess I would also say that there, you know, I don't want to speak for all women because, again, my diagnosis was early, and, you know, that's not a guarantee, but that is like great news, you
Right.
know, in the scope
Yes.
of things. But I think one thing is that it's not all bad. It's not like my
Oh.
life was on hold. You know, it's just been like 7 months now. It's not like my life has been on hold for 7 months and it's just been doom and gloom.
Mhm.
There's been so many good things, you know, you just really see the love that people have for you and the love that you can share, and like the way that suffering can open your eyes to other people. You know, there's a lot of people that I started to notice that I, you know, probably before wouldn't have noticed like what their
Oh,
suffering
yeah.
was like. So I think it's an experience that can really shape you and deepen you and open you up to a lot more than you had before. So I think sometimes the fear is that it's just going to make you small and it's going to diminish you. But it's actually something that can make you, you know, a more beautiful person and see the beauty in other people more.
And like to grow, right? And
Yeah,
to have that chance to like,
it's a growing opportunity.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's even more that like, I don't even want to be self-centered. Like it's like grow, like it's like you get to see the best in other people too. Because you really get to see, you know, there were so many people that were so kind to me, yourself included, my boyfriend, my parents, my family, friends at work, you know, people that, you know, were so thoughtful and generous to me. And it's just kind of given me, you know, like a vision of how I want to be. You know, I want to be that generous to other people, and I want to be present when they're hurting and suffering. So I think it's, you know, it's not all bad.
Yeah.
Take it one day at a time. And we have great healthcare. Like we really do. You know, we complain about things a lot, but
I know.
there's just so many people that are so kind in the oncology world, and we're really lucky to have that.
Well, leave it to you to see the best in other people in the midst of your circumstances. No, I love that. Well, I can't thank you enough. So we're going to do this a lot, right?
Okay.
Because like you have so much to talk about. And I'm just, wow, it's an unfortunate situation, but like I'm blessed every day by just like how much of a positive you've turned this into. And I mean, I have so many things I want to talk to you about. So I'll talk to you as long as you'll talk to me.
Of course.
We can just like have that arrangement.
Well, you're a big reason that things were like more positive for me than they could have been. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks for coming on. We're going to talk again soon. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. I hope that I know it helps somebody out there. And so if you have feedback, comments, like it, link it, talk about it, do whatever you need to do. This will not be the first or the last time that you see Rebecca on here. So thank you guys so much for watching the Peachy Comeback. Have a great day.